I'm just introducing a little clip here by Simon Bean, MBE, who is I noticed from his tie, he's a trucking officer and soldier. So he knows how many beans make five, but he's done some very good research on this as to telling us how we are going to be involved in the EU army and our nuclear deterrent is likely to come under EU command and all these things of which I have been warning for many, many years, decades. It's inevitable, it's bound to come, and it's been done, of course, via the back door, and I'm going to leave it to Mr. Bean to explain how it all works. And he names names and he does the whole thing. He's done all the research for us. So that's absolutely marvellous. I think what the takeaway thing from that also is my erstwhile colleague Nigel Farage used to also be a very, very gong banger when it comes to an EU army. And he's been protesting about it for many, many years, but he's gone silent. He has gone completely silent on this issue, it would seem. And it is not yet signed. So now is the time to do something about it, not after it's signed when nothing can be done. And I'm concerned that it's not the only reform piece of silence that we have. Reform seem to have gone fairly silent on all the most important issues for which I recommended that people vote at the last election reform. I stuck with it and I voted reform myself. And I'm beginning to wonder why. Where are they on the main issues of the day? They seem to have disappeared. Anyway, listen to Mr. Bean and see what you make of it. But we're heading down the route of an EU army and an EU nuclear deterrent with our deterrent in point of fact. Have a listen and think.
Do you want to know some more secrets? Ladies and gentlemen, hello. During the past few weeks, I've been speaking about Sir Keir Starmer's plan to sign the UK's armed forces and security services over to Brussels as part of EU military unification. A member of Parliament and leader of the Reform Party, Nigel Farage, is fully aware of what's going on, but is currently sitting on his hands and remaining silent. Remember that silence is consent. I have it on very good authority that he intends to let Starmer sign us in, to begin the process of defence and security union, and will then speak out, investigate and campaign against it in true Farage style. Newsflash, too late. Once signed, we'll be in defence and security union with no way out. So why not speak up now before it's too late? People have approached me and asked why the defence chiefs aren't speaking out against Starmer's pact. What you need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is the defence chiefs, Chief of the Defence Staff, the First Sea Lord, the Chief of the General Staff and Chief of the Air Staff have absolutely no say in this policy. The chain of command for EU military unification, or defence union, call it what you will, Starmer's Pact, is basically a group of civil servants, ranging from David Williams, Permanent Secretary for the MOD, his boss, Ollie Robbins, Foreign Office, his boss, Jonathan Pell, National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister, and best friend of Tony Blair. And of course his boss, Chris Warmold, Cabinet Secretary. Are you surprised yet? The only people that can stop this union is the elected members of Parliament, but nobody's saying anything. Remember again, ladies and gentlemen, silence is consent. Also understand, once in defence and security union, when placed on a war footing, who will say no? The defence chiefs, with their training, experience and wherewithal, are silenced. When Theresa May was trying to push this through in 2018-19, Major General Julian Thompson, Royal Marines, who led the brigade in the Falkland Islands in 1982, said, and I quote, "This deal under Theresa May, at the time, is the biggest surrender since Singapore in terms of the magnitude of the surrender of our sovereignty." End quote. But actually, it's worse now, because this deal is about the surrender of our armed forces and security services, all the way through to our coal-faced policing and all the necessary industry. The EU's ambitions, as we know, are everything. They want it all. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand that officers are not in charge, and Parliament is silent, and silence is consent. Now, I'm 99% certain the First Sea Lord, who has just been removed from his position, spoke out and said no to the diversity targets which were being pushed by a previous permanent secretary to the MOD, Stephen Lovegrove, an old adversary of mine, who signed off MOD policy with hashtag Black Lives Matter. That same civil servant is now in charge of nuclear submarines and AUKUS, which is the submarine pact between Australia, the UK and the US. The upcoming Strategic Defence and Security Review will give this nation zero increase in fighting capability. All procurement has been deferred to October this year. But by then, we'll be in full-blown EU military unification, and defence contracts, sourced by Brussels, will become available. And of course, Starmer will state, "We're getting a great deal, so let's do it."